then you really don't think it's that funny anymore.
I don't know. Like around
But
here,
I'm just saying.
especially in the start of winter, a lot of people they'll hit a parking lot, like an empty parking lot or something like that, or a wide street, and they'll kind of practice their winter driving skills. They'll make sure that maybe they bought a new car that year and they want to see how it handles in the snow. So and even though it might look reckless, there's a reason why they're doing it often. It's going to actually better them to understand their vehicle and how it handles
Parking
when
lots
they
for
do these
for and
tractions.
empty fields. You know what I mean? But doing it in like there's 4 houses on the corner here, and I'm one of them. And I've got chips in my windows. You know, with the glass in my front of my house, I've got little holes in them, little cracks, and the rocks that they kick up. So I mean, I take it seriously, and I'm not afraid of anybody. I don't care if they're gangsters or whatever they are. They come over and do donuts, and I catch them. I'll throw a rock right at their car. I really don't give a shit.
Well, you do know that in the eyes of the law, that you are not justified to throw rocks at their car, even if
You're
they're being
right.
wrecked.
You're right. But like I said, the way I look at it is this: I got a camera in the front of the house. So if they want to trade me tickets, I'll take the ticket for throwing a rock through the windshield. I'll buy them a new windshield if they lose their car for 30 days. Sure, no problem. Trust me, they won't come doing donuts in your court. You know what I mean? Like I said, had to put like literally speed bumps on the side streets over here because people drive so fast through here and people have almost gotten hit. I've almost gotten ran over on a street right next to a school during the day, broad daylight. Like nearly almost killed. Like literally. I was like, holy crap. All right, I'll show.
No, it's all right. I mean, every instance is different. Uh, if it's a something that's been a problem in the past, that's totally different. Like if they're,
Like,
if it was happening across the street from my house, where I'm in a mostly rural area and there's a park there and there's a big open parking lot and people do this shit. In the middle of the night, all of a sudden I'll hear somebody freaking rev their engine and do a burnout for a quarter mile down the road. I kind of actually, like, even if it wakes me, like, I might at first be like, "What the fuck?" But I kind of smile about it. I like the fact that I live in a rural part of town where people feel like they can do what they want.
I guess I'm just a grumpy old man. Let's put it this way. 3 weeks ago, my wife told me that there was an accident down the street, and I was like, "What?" So I drove down the street, and I had to park a block away and walk in. And when I got up there, I saw that some kids were racing each other or down the side street where the speed limit's 30, and they were doing 75 miles per hour. And one of the kids came over the divider in between the two lanes going around a corner, and he went across and he hit another woman coming home from work, and she's got 2 kids, and he damn near killed her. And he walked away from it, and he was trying to run away. He was trying to get away and like just sneak off. And one of the people in the neighborhood snatched him up and said, "No, you ain't going anywhere, motherfucker. You ain't going." I got it all on video, man. I was like, this is getting ridiculous. It happens all the time in the town where I live. It's just getting out of hand. There's so many like people that's trying to like have races, and they're doing crazy stuff, and it's like we're getting ridiculous.
All right.
But I
Well,
don't
turn
really
them in.
believe in cops just chasing kids for speeding on the highway. You know, that's a little different. And if they're doing it in a parking lot, let them as long as they're not destroying property, why do we care, right? They're not hurting anybody. But when they get into a parking lot, like down here by the river, and they start doing donuts and they start smacking into people and they start smacking into poles and destroying their cars, you know what I'm saying? Like it becomes an issue. And that's what's
Well,
basically going on around here is like
by the
cops
time they're
chased
destroying
300
their
cars off
cars,
the other day. 300 cars they chased away. And they arrested like 150 kids and impounded their cars. That's how bad it was. I was like, dude, this is crazy.
Like, what city do you live in?
I live in Antioch, California. Go some street racing not that long ago. Look in the news there, in the Bay Area Times or
Yeah, around
East
here it's
County
not.
Times. Or,
We don't have the issue of like the teenage kids on the strip, drag racing in traffic.
well, you got to figure we've
But
got Sacramento not too far from here. We got Oakland is
yeah,
literally over the hill, and then we got a lot of rich seed neighborhoods that are right down here in the Bay Area, where there's a lot of rich kids that just get out of hand too.
yeah. No, I'm just saying, like in comparison, like yeah, if I go, there's neighborhoods I can go to, there's streets I can go to where it is like that, with a bunch of irresponsible teenagers with too much mommy's money, daddy's money, where they're being, they're endangering the lives of many others with what they're doing. And I can kind of get that, where
Yeah,
the
I mean,
cops
I
have to
go four
clamp
wheeling
down.
in a
But
place
I,
that's right
but
here
but
nearby. But I don't do donuts in people's yards.
nearby to my house, when I do hear what I more have, because it's, like I said, more of a rural area. It's a lot of like old timers with their classic muscle cars and shit like that, that they're not racing anybody. They're just like, once in a while they're like, hey, I know this straight wide street where I can fucking let it go, and like, and all of a sudden I hear it rumble past the house. Yeah, like, and even part of me is like, because I'm kind of close to the road. My kid doesn't live with me most of the time, but when on the weekends, it's like, hey, kids could be playing in the yard. And you're driving like that, like, I know my daughter's smart enough not to go into the road, but so there is some irresponsibility there. But for the most part, it honestly, if you're gonna do it, this road is kind of prime for it, and I can understand why they're doing it, getting away with it occasionally. If you make a habit of it where you do it all the time, I might start to have a problem. But when you just open it up and it looks safe, and
My biggest problem with a city who impounds cars, which I don't agree with that. Don't get me wrong. I don't agree with them impounding their cars, but it is kind of handy for me when I want to chase them off. I usually don't throw a rock at them. I'll generally threaten them, and they usually just drive away. But you know what I'm saying? Like there has been a couple of guys that were pretty pushy, and they were like deliberately trying to make me mad. So like I let it get out of hand. But I didn't break anybody's windshield or nothing. But
I
I
think
could
the
have.
guy must have. I think the guy must have moved or died or something. But there was somebody around here who, a couple of years ago, um, it's been a couple of years since I've seen him, but there's a guy on a crotch rocket, like, and not just like any crotch rocket. Like this thing was in an insanely fast one, and because it's like I said, there's the fire department, there's a park, there's a school across the street. Like it's a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit on this road, even though it's really wide. 30 miles an hour in front of my house. This guy was going like as fast as the goddamn speed of sound. I swear to God, like he would every day. You by the time you heard the bike, he was already gone. It was just a blur when he went past. You just hear, zoom, and and that was it. Like you
He's
look
probably
for it, and
doing
it was
200
gone.
miles per hour or something like that. I've
Like
heard people go by on the freeway. I can hear them from like a mile away, bro. It's like, wow. All I hear is this, and it's like, I think it's a helicopter. And it ends up being like somebody's motorcycle. It's like, what?
yeah,
And these are
yeah.
small
There
bikes.
was
They're
one
not the
guy in the
big one. They're
neighborhood
not
who
like
was.
the big biker bikes. Some of those big biker bikes are even worse. They're faster and loud.
This dude, I'm guaranteeing you, was doing nearly 200 like every day when he would go past. Like it would just,
Living dangerously.
um, you'd feel a wind, and then you would turn around and hear the sound. That's exaggeration, of course. But,
Yeah,
and then you
I
were
know what you mean though. Well, hey, I think my family went to bed on me, so I better get in there and get some sleep myself. I'll see you guys tomorrow or whatever. I had fun.
Take care, Rookie. It was fun talking to you.
All right, good night, guys.
God Rock, your mic's lighting up a little bit. You snoring on us, or are you trying to talk?
No, I'm using a speaker, Bluetooth speaker. I was just sitting here silently. I don't know what's going on.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't hear anything. I just saw the light lighting up around you.
Oh, so what's up?
Nothing.
Uh,
No, I mean, what's up? I mean, I would tell it again, but I'm sure you already heard it. I'm all stoked about my new board. I just can't wait for the bindings to come.
Yeah, we're
So
get 2 feet of snow right here tonight.
nice.
That's what they say anyway.
Yeah, I wish. Like I said, we've been hurting for precipitation. We haven't gotten shit for snow all winter. We didn't get hardly anything for rain all spring, summer, and fall. Like it's kind of getting to the point where, because this is growing land, like it's kind of getting to the point where it's actually concerning. What's next season going to be like for crop production and stuff?
That's a good point. What do you think about like famine? Famine seems, oh no, a little more likely on the platter. Maybe that's weird logic.
We famines have happened throughout history many times, and we haven't had like a real modern famine, have we? It's just weird. There's definitely some weird stuff going on with the weather. Places that don't normally get a good amount of water are not getting it, like my area anyway. And then places that are normally very arid, like Arian and Sophia are down in South Africa. It's supposed to be a relatively dry climate. They've been talking about how it's been raining every single day.
Totally abnormal for, said what, South Africa?
In South Africa, yeah. It's been raining way more than normal down there and way less
See
than
the
normal
Africa.
here.
Shrimp on the babby. I can't do that accent very well. New
No,
Zealand.
that's New Zealand or Australia. South Africa is completely different.
See the Africa. Yeah. See the Africa. That sounds like an Australian talking about South Africa.
South Africa does actually sound a little bit like New Zealand, don't they? For their like the accent that we see on the movies and shit.
Do you think there's any truth to the what time period would it have been? Maybe somewhat near the Black Death time period. Allegedly, there wasn't really much fresh water to trust, so people were drinking beer and I guess harder liquors like that. Maybe wine.
Well, I mean, beer has been there's actually like mead or beer or malt liquor. Uh, it's it's been around for, according to history, like 10,000 years or something like that. And it it really does have a sustaining quality to it. There's a reason why it's existed, not just to get fucked up like we usually use it nowadays. Like, it definitely has benefits. The Bavarian monks used to drink Doppelbock for the 40 days during Lent, and nothing but that. They would not eat for an entire 40 days of Lent and only drink Doppelbock to sustain themselves through it.
What is Doppelbock?
It's double brewed, basically, is kind of what it means. Like,
Oh, like a beer?
yeah,
You know, it's
The
weird.
monks still make those beers, by the way. They still make that
Yeah.
stuff. It's delicious. It's my dad's favorite beer.
it's a good one. Yeah, it is pretty tasty.
For the last,
It's a very thick, heavy beer though. Like,
Yeah, prepare to
one-
do
one-
nothing for the
yeah.
rest of the night. Yep.
Yeah, one or two of them, and you are full.
Right, full.
yeah, I've had some Doppelbock a few times in the last 10 years, and turns out it's like some ingredient in there that I'm allergic to. It would swell up the uvula, right? Enough to the point where it'll like fall forward in my mouth and almost get chewed on, type of thing. It's really strange. I've never researched like maybe what is different, what ingredient would be different.
Well, it has to do with the malt, the amount of malt that they're using, and the fact that it's a very rich malt. It's a heavy, like it's so, like, in Bavarian beer law, beers can only have four different ingredients, like barley, malt, hops, and water. But it's about the amount of each and which type you're using. Hops don't really give much of like that fullness, that thickness of it. They're more for like bitterness and like flavor. Um, it's the malts that you're using, and so they're using like really dark, heavy malts, and then part of the brewing process is what makes it a Doppelbock.
Yeah, it sucks. I was a pretty decent fan, but seemed to be like the only beer I can't drink.
It's got a lot of flavor, and even if you can drink it, you can't drink that much of it.
My brother-in-law and stepsister make beer in their garage, and they're not very good at it. But every time we visit, you bet we're having a lot of that. See, I quit drinking, but everybody else still drinks that beer, and I'll tell you what, it is not good. Not good. And they're in a part of Colorado where, there's tons of craft beer, so there's a lot of competition, so there's not really any totally good stuff. You know what I mean? It's too saturated. But anyway, yeah, yeah, that's I don't know. It was too fruity, and I don't have the heart to tell him. You know what I mean? I'm not that much of a dick. But it's been
It's
like
really
4 or
hard.
5
It's
years
really
at
hard.
least of every time we visit shit beer, and everybody has to act like they like it and ask for seconds. Anyway, go ahead.
I mean, dude, breweries pay a lot of money for a good brewmaster. Somebody who like they have to be true. They have to be really good at chemistry, and it's kind of like it's like a mix between chemistry and being a good baker. Like you have to have your recipe just fine tuned perfectly, and you have to understand the chemistry fully. And timing is everything. Like how long you let it ferment and how long you let it you know, and I don't know all the processes myself, but my family owns a craft brewery actually in Milwaukee that also followed the German beer law of 1770, whatever the fuck it was, um, and then I've got another uncle on the other side of the family, my mom's side, who he just last year won like first place of an award for home brews, where he made a spruce ale, where it like spruce, like it tastes like fucking Christmas tree and shit. But like it was a really good fucking beer. I've never had anything like it. Yeah, he won like first place in this like homebrewing competition. But he's been doing it for a long time and really like fine tuning his craft. It's not something that you're gonna figure out in the first batch or anything like that. Like that spruce ale, honestly, like it was a homebrew, but and I only had one of them. But oh my god, like I've tried a lot of different beers. That was one of the most unique tasting and like best beers I think I've ever had. Honestly, like I could have I would have loved to buy a couple of cases off of them.
A little bit different subject, but I had some pecan whiskey in where was I? Somewhere near Syracuse, New York, and it's got to be hands down like the most delicious liquor I've ever had. Crazy.
For certain reasons, I don't really want to advertise the family's craft brewery here in the live stream, but anybody who does want to know the name of it, DM me and I'll send you a link. Like you might have it in your area and you could give it a try.
I woke up my first person to flat Earth today. It took like
Yeah.
maybe like 6 hours or something.
You say it took
That's not
6
bad.
hours?
Yeah,
Six
something like
hours.
that.
6 hours. Are
We
you
were working
sure they're
together,
really? Are you sure they're really woke to it, or did they just
so. You know,
eventually give up and say it's been 6 hours, dude? Come on.
Yeah.
no,
I'm going
they
for the latter.
each new thing that they became aware of that they weren't before, it was kind of like connecting the dots for them. That's what it seemed like to me.
How'd you start
Like
it
he
off?
started off. Let's see. I think I started off with pseudoscience.
Okay.
With the scientific method, explaining
Sure.
that to them.
Okay,
Where
that's an
things
easy
need
one
to
to
be-
understand.
Right. And then and then from there I went from basically like a lot of these text channels in the Discord, looking at what you actually see when you look at stars, and how you can't measure any curve. And then it went all the way to like, basically Nazis, Werner von Braun, Americans, right? See where I'm leading with this? And he he didn't even like want to attack me or anything like usually. I've tried this before with people, right? But for him it was just like, no way. This is just like, how far does this go? It's pretty awesome. Yeah, and then the last thing he said was he's going to be, continue. He's going to continue his I don't know, journey, research, whatever you want to call it. But he's pretty intrigued, to say the least.
That's good. Get him curious. 6
Yeah.
hours, huh?
That's
So
a
are you?
that's a great start. I just
Mhm.
I wouldn't bet my chips on him staying a flat earther after only 6 hours. You know,
Yeah, I'm
ex-
not happy.
expect him to come back in 2 weeks with a whole bunch of normie blue pill shit
Right.
that you have to refute. Like a lot of people will be receptive to it at first and then regress.
Yeah, even me, I was like that for a little bit. I think I found out about it and kind of had like a realization about it, and then 2 years go by, and I'm like, oh shit, that's right, you know. And then I was like, let me look into this deeper and try to get some foundation on this.
Yeah, dealing with people in real life, like that's kind of been my experience. That's the only reason I say, like, there'll be some people who, when they hear you talk, they're like, wow, like this guy really knows his stuff and this is super interesting. And, they seem really receptive. But you're like, all right, cool, that's a big win. And then 2 weeks later, a month later, or maybe they're quiet for even longer, all of a sudden they come at you with a fury of all this, like, well, how do you explain this? And how do you explain that? Like you just been in their head this entire fucking time, and they went to Google, and they're like, you know what I mean? And they're gonna come back with you with the entire onslaught of all of Google's fucking retorts.
Did you say retards?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Whew. That's
I
funny.
think I think he may have been it sounds a little bad, but he may have been lubed up a little bit. He's against the juice,
Mhm.
so that's a start.
That's a plus, yeah, sure. That's baseline, right? At the very least, that needs to be going on. What's this person's first name?
And middle and last, and
No,
his
I just want to know their
location.
first. I don't know why it's curious. I'm curious.
Carlos.
Carlos?
Yep.
All right.
Santana is his last name.
Any relation to Carlos Mencia? A bad comedian?
Joke stealer?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess that was
Everybody
Joe
steals
Rogan
jokes
kind of
from
back
people, but
then.
like They really went after him. You know what I mean? They went after him hard. Somebody had to go after joke stealers. But everybody's done it before. All the comedians
That
have
may
done
have added to his fame a lot, actually. Now that I think about
it.
it.
Yeah, exactly. No such thing as bad publicity. Faux show. Bad publicity.
That's a debatable fucking thing. Like I understand the argument for it. Like I get the reason why it's said.
Yes, I know you feel how you feel, Lou. Yep. And you are wildly entitled to that.
Like as long as you can draw attention to your cause, it gets more eyes on it, and
sure,
but you can do a lot of damage playing that game. Like,
yeah, musicians, rock stars, actors have that happen to them often.
By the way, Glad, without getting too direct about it, you sort of triggered me yesterday, and I blew up. I want to apologize for the level of which I blew up. Not that it was all. Not that I want to take it all back, but I did it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. No hard feelings. I know exactly how shit goes, man. Life do what it do.
Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah, I mean, what I said was triggering, right? I said you should go get your own server then. That was a dick thing to say. So it goes both ways.
Again, I don't want to get too personal about it, but
yeah,
the whole idea is like I've been, and it shouldn't matter that much, but I've been around here doing my thing for a long time. You're relatively new, and when somebody like you says that to somebody like me, it's a little bit offensive.
Yeah, I got you, man. That's why I brought it up, because I'd like to apologize for that as well. There's a song that just got stuck in my head now. Go ahead.
No, just my apology was accepted by you, and mine is also, or yours is also by me. So
thanks, dude.
Yeah. I was gonna DM you about that earlier, but I just kind of figured it seemed like because we've been in the chat here for a little while, and it seemed like you were letting bygones be bygones. So I was gonna just let it slide, but I don't want to just let stuff just slide. I thought I'd mention it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, that's cool. I wasn't gonna take it personally. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm really that made you that mad, man, I need to do some comeuppance. How do I fix it?
It's not just you. Like
yeah.
I mean, okay, like a lot of people around here know I'm not quiet about it. There's a whole lot of issues that I think need to be addressed, and so it's kind of the combination of them, that makes it triggering.
I picked the wrong time too, because if you were like a tea kettle, you were literally boiling right then and there, and then I came in and I was like, in addition, you know.
Yeah.
It's what we call a faux pas, I think. A social mishap, social mistake.
At least you recognize it, and so do I. So
yes, sir.
We're not idiots.
No, man, Lou, I've been listening to you the whole time. Well, the whole time I've been listening for 3.5 years now. 3 years. And you fucking crack me up all the time, dude.
I appreciate that. I sometimes it's funny because I make myself laugh because I don't even realize how funny I am till after I say it. I'm like, I didn't even mean for that to be a joke, but that was fucking hysterical. Look,
Right. Yep. Yeah, man. The off-color comments are perfect because nobody else is gonna say them, but somebody has to.
timing is key. Okay,
Mhm.
so sometimes you just gotta get in there.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like when I get ornery like that, I'm acting like a 12-year-old tops. Uh, so, but I'm used to that because I don't think that's changed much since I was 11 or 12. I was a good skateboarder back then too. Come to think about it, my shins tell the story.
Yeah, that was just. I watched too many friends rack their balls trying to learn kick flips and shit like that. Where I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna ride with you guys. Like,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, dude, I have such a big scar on my elbow because I kept falling on that elbow and reopening the wound. It's ridiculous. It's gross.
and I also grew up in a time where, at least around here, I mean, you know how skateboarders love to talk about how cops are dickheads. They've over the last 20 years or so, like really relaxed their shit. When I was a teenager, cops were brutal to skateboarders. Like I witnessed it happen.
Yeah,
I like
in the '90s, early '90s, right?
yeah, in the mid 90s to late 90s even still.
Yeah,
Like
the whole '90s.
they
Yeah,
would they would beat the shit out of people because four wheels left the ground.
right,
I
right.
I had I had a I had a friend who got fucking beat up in front of a crowd of like 30 people by cops. And thrown in cuffed, thrown in the back of a squad car where he purposely banged his head against the fucking roof of the fucking car to throw him in because he had more than two wheels off the ground in a parking lot in a park.
It's some kind of like safety code or something. That
And
was, yeah.
he was watching from like a quarter mile away with binoculars and came in and
That's
fucking
creepy. We wow, that's really creepy. He was hunting y'all. Um, so we had a security guard at the parking garages at the old Enron building in my city. We had an Enron building at the time, and the parking garage was huge, and it was freshly paved all the time, like they do it once a year. It was beautiful. And so we'd start at the top, go all the way down a few times, and then the security guard would see us, and we didn't care because what we would do is we'd from wherever we were in the parking structure, we would go into the stairwell, go all the way up, wait till he comes up there, and then we start skateboarding all the way down. And the motherfucker chases us all the way down like 7-8 fucking floors. And then we get out there and we go out into the public street, and he can't do a fucking thing, and we're just kind of looking at him like, we'll be back probably tomorrow. It was fun.
I didn't realize there was regulations like that for skateboarders. You couldn't. It was against the law.
They had rules. They had rules where you were allowed to skateboard, but if more than two wheels left the ground, that you were breaking the law. Like you were doing stunts, which were prohibited in a public space, and blah 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 blah. And then they would use those regulations as a reason to beat your ass.
Wow.
Yeah, they can if they want to, for sure. Skateboarding, it's like nobody's going to bat an eye at the precinct about busting a skateboarder that was, violently performing tricks. But with the body cams, it's different these days, I guess. There was a Plan B video. I don't know if you know the skate company, Lou, but from like 1991, and it's skateboarders getting in a fight with the security guard and everybody beating the shit out of each other. And I could barely like sit through the whole thing. It's brutal. It gets so bad, man.
Oh, dude, the '90s were rough all around. Like the gangs were jumping people for no fucking reason, like 7 against 1. Um, then you had your skateboarders who would get into fight with jocks and like, or with cops or whatever else, and they use those things as weapons. They giving truckies to people, fucking knocking them out with the fucking trucks of their skateboard and shit.
Right, right.
Like it was all out fucking war for a lot of groups during the fucking '90s.
Yep. Because they were taking over all the best spots, right?
Yeah.
Where's Love Park again? You know what I'm talking about? Is that in New York, or I forget where that's at?
See, I wasn't a big boarder, so or skateboarder, so that name sounds familiar. New York is probably about. It might be right. I'm gonna take your word for it.
Yeah, I think it's New York, and it doesn't
It
really
might be.
matter. It was like the most popular public skate park that was made in between like a hustling, bustling downtown. It was like right in the middle of a downtown, and it was a skate park. And so it didn't last forever, but it's huge, just like big, solid lips, like 2, 3, 4 foot drops you could just do crazy stuff off of. And it was kind of like a wonderland for skateboarders.
Yeah,
And
well,
all it was just cool
during
architecture.
during those days in the early and mid '90s, like, and even late '90s, there was very few skateboard parks around. Communities everywhere since have built skateboard parks. And now they can, but most people across the middle America didn't have any, but they had these laws restricting you from doing it, and that's where they got into these fights with the cops and shit like that. So, literally, just trying to do your recreational fun on a fucking skateboard was not just illegal; it was reason to beat the crap out of you and charge you.
Check this out. When I was 8 years old, this friend of mine's dad came over from Japan or China. I think it was Japan, and he told us about these kids that were riding boards with roller skates on the bottom of them, and it's before skateboards were even out. So my first skateboard was a 2x4 that I took apart a pair of old roller skates that you wear on your feet. I took the steel wheels off and nailed them to the bottom of a 2x4. And I was 8 years old, and we started skating up and down the sidewalk with that. And then it was a couple of years later when the skateboards first came out, and I got my first skateboard. And this was in 1964. I had a 2x4 with steel skates nailed to the bottom of it, and nobody had skateboards back then. And this guy said this friend of ours, mine, his dad, like I said, came back from, I think it was Japan or somewhere, and told us about these kids that were skating on boards and told us what they were. So we built our own, and so yeah, that was a long time ago. I'll bet you guys have never skated on a 2x4 with steel wheels.
No, not on a 2x4, but not on a 2x4. But dude, I wish I still had this, or my grandma and grandpa. They've always been like big, like rummage sale shoppers and shit like that. And I don't know if this actually came. It might have been one of my uncles from the '60s or something. But in their garage, they had a 1960s fucking skateboard, one of the first skateboards ever made. I guarantee you, if that thing was still around, like, that thing's worth a bunch of money. Like, and they're funny. They're so funny. Like, I remember trying to ride them, like, with those roller skate wheels, like you're saying, the quad wheels. Like, they're so fast, and like, but the board was tiny. It was narrow. It was short. It had this tiny little lip in the back, and it was pointed in the middle at the front, right? Like, but yeah, I guarantee you that thing was that right now it's probably worth like at least $1,000. I remember riding that thing actually in my grandma's garage and driveway and shit. And
Yeah, I used to get we used to have this poodle, a dog, a big one, like a tall poodle, and I would take him. His name was Peppy, and I would take him to the top of the road. We lived on this road, the big long uh, sidewalk, and it curved right onto our front lawn. And so I'd get to the top, I'd put a leash on my dog, a little bit extra rope, and I'd tell him, "Go, Peppy, go!" And he'd start running. He'd pull me all the way down that sidewalk and going as fast as we could. I could go on that fucking 2x4 skateboard, and then I would roll onto the front grass, jump off my board, and roll onto the grass. I remember doing it. I was like 9 years old. It's fucking crazy. It was fun though.
yeah, but you couldn't do much on those things. All you're doing is just like
Oh.
trying to stay on top of it. Like you're just like,
Yep.
oh, how far can I go?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was before skateboards were ever in out. You know what I mean? And it was just like a year or two later when you started seeing them on the market. You started buying them.
And even then, they were garbage. It wasn't until like the '80s that it wasn't until the '80s that they started like making like actual like skateboard wheels and trucks and decks, and like it was more just kind of like a rigged thing, like kind of like what you're saying, but maybe a little bit more advanced. But you couldn't do shit on them, like I said, like doing tricks and stuff like that. It was more just about like being able to stay on top of it while rolling down the sidewalk.
Yeah, my first trick was I put some bricks on each side of the sidewalk and then put a stick across it so it was about a foot off the ground. And I'd skate and I'd jump over and land back on my skateboard. And so it took me all day long before I got to where I could actually land it and keep going. Yeah, I was fucked. I was just a young kid when I was doing that, man. I never did get really into skateboarding all that much though. I helped a friend build a skateboarding run at the ski resort up here, a place called Nordic Valley. So you could ride the lift up, and then we made this curvy trail. It took us all summer long to pour the concrete, and we did it all by hand. Loaded the sides, and it had like little, like a ditch with rounded edges that go up, so you could go up the side and go up, and turn around, and how you take your toe up and spin back and go back down the hill, like a half pipe or whatever.
Dude.
Anyway, so I helped build that one summer, but it was wicked, man. It was too steep. It was too fast and too steep. It never did. Hardly anybody ever used it because it was too hard to skate on.
Have you ever watched this? Have you ever watched this downhill longboarding stuff that these guys are doing on mountains?
Oh yeah, that's crazy shit. There, that's cool.
It's absolutely fucking cool, dude. It's insanity. Like
they lay down on them and they got gloves that have that plastic pads on them. And so
yeah. They have these discs that they wear on their gloves that like they're made out of like titanium or some shit like that. Where they yeah. No,
it's fun to watch. Really,
I got a couple of them that are coming. Like anybody who's never watched this, I don't care if you're into skateboarding or not. Like you are going to enjoy this shit.
You gonna post something?
Yeah, I just posted a couple of them.
Yeah, I've watched this kind of stuff before.
Dude, they don't wear hardly anything for protective gear. They're wearing a t-shirt and jeans. They're going 70 miles an hour down the fucking mountain.
That's fucking some crazy shit there.
Dude, I literally, I'm You guys. I might not hear you because I'm gonna be watching these, even though I've seen them before. Like just the whole talking about it. It's like I have to watch it again.
Right
Like
for them flames.
like this is on wheels and on pavement, but this is basically my type of snowboarding. Speed, carving, tucking, like just always just going, just pushing those limits. Not really tricks and shit. Dude, but what's so amazing is they're doing this on roads where there's cars driving. Like they're taking these hairpin turns and not knowing what's around it. I think they have scouts that are kind of letting them know, but still.
Test, 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 test.
Sounds decent. Who was that? Got
Glat, can you hear me, Glatflobe?
Yes, sir, I can.
Did you see that video I dropped on your DMs?
I have not paid attention to it just yet,
Oh, okay. Just wondering.
but I will.
No, that's fine. I mean,
It's-
it's crazy as fuck, dude.
Yeah, it looks. It looks. Yep. Yeah, and I wanted to talk to you